Imagine someone cuts off both your arms, then both your legs, then your head, and just you come back. Not like a superhero, not in a cool Wolverine way with a little snikt and some witty quip. No, you come back the way a roach comes back after you've stomped it 3 times, confused, mangled, and frankly kind of pissed off about the whole thing. That is the daily reality of Manji, the protagonist of Blade of the Immortal. A manga that looks like a samurai action series on the surface, but it is, in reality, a relentlessly grim philosophical exercise disguised as sword fights. And I am here for every single drop of it. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, we cover manga that were engineered to make you feel deeply uncomfortable and slightly rethink your worldview. Today, Blade of the Immortal, written and illustrated by Hiroaki Samura, serialized in Monthly Afternoon from 1993 to 2012. That's 19 years of samurai carnage and existential dread, folks. Let's get right into it. Quick disclaimer. I came to this manga late, very late. I mean embarrassingly late. Like the anime had already aired, the live action movie had already aired, the second live action movie had already aired, and my friend has been yelling at me for 4 years that I'm late to the party. When I finally sat down and read the first volume, I think I looked up to 2 hours later and it was midnight. And I'd somehow read 7 volumes and had eaten half a bag of chips without even noticing. I read a lot of seinen, dark psychological stuff, body horror, violence with a point behind it. The kind of manga that uses brutality as a language rather than just a spectacle. And Blade of the Immortal fits that description almost perfectly. Almost. Well, we'll get to the almost part. I always get to the almost part. So the setup. Edo period Japan. Our guy Manji is a ronin, a masterless samurai who has killed 100 people, including his own master. As a divine punishment, an 800-year-old nun named Yaobikuni infects him with sacred bloodworms, sentient organisms that live inside his body and regenerate any damage he sustains. Severed limbs? Bloodworms reattach it. Stabbed through the heart? Bloodworms fix it. Decapitated? Okay, that one takes a while, but still, bloodworms. You get the drift, right? The catch? Because of course there's always a catch. The catch is that Manji can only die when he has killed 1,000 evil men. That's the deal. Kill 1,000 bad guys, earn your death back. Enter Rin Asano, a 16-year-old girl whose parents were slaughtered by a group of sword school fanatics called the Ittō-ryū, led by the absolutely terrifying Anotsu Kagehisa. Rin wants revenge. Manji, who sees in Rin the ghost of his murdered little sister, agrees to be her bodyguard and help her hunt down every member of the Ittō-ryū. Simple revenge story, right? Samurai with superpowers helps girl get revenge, good guys win, roll credits. Absolutely not. This manga will make you question who the good guys even are by volume 3 and never stop doing that for the next 30 volumes. Let me talk about Hiroaki Samura's art because it is genuinely one of the most distinctive visual styles in manga. Samura does not draw like traditional manga artists. He draws like someone who studied Western illustration and fine art and then decided to go absolutely feral with it. The line work is scratchy, expressive, almost rough in places, and it works completely in this context. Fights feel chaotic because the lines themselves are chaotic. There's a tactile quality to injuries that I can only describe as uncomfortably convincing. When someone loses a hand in this manga, Samura makes sure you understand anatomically and viscerally what losing a hand actually looks like. It's not fun. It is not stylized. It is a hand not being where a hand used to be. The panel composition is also widely experimental. You'll go from full-page spreads of someone getting bisected, and I mean truly bisected, like a biological diagram of what's inside a human torso, to a tiny silent panel of Rin looking at her reflection. That contrast is intentional and devastating. One complaint though, because the art style is so detailed and sometimes deliberately rough, some fights can be hard to follow spatially. There are moments where you're looking at a page going, okay, someone lost a limb, I think that's blood, that might be a sword or a spine, it's a bit unclear. It's a minor issue but worth mentioning. What Samura gets absolutely right every single time are faces. The emotional range he achieves with character expressions is extraordinary. Rin's grief, Manji's particular brand of very disgust, and Anotsu, God, Anotsu's face does more philosophical work than most manga do with entire monologues. Let's talk about story, the characters and themes for a bit. Here's where Blade of the Immortal gets genuinely interesting and why I think it belongs in conversations about serious literary manga alongside Berserk, Vinland Saga and Vagabond. The manga refuses to let you have a clean moral framework. Rin wants revenge, fine, understandable. We're on her side. But Anotsu Kagehisa, the man she wants to kill, the man who destroyed her family, he's not evil. He's a visionary. He believes the rigid, corrupt world of sanctioned sword schools is rotten and needs to be destroyed to build something better. He's brutal, he does terrible things, but his logic is coherent. His suffering is real, and Samura makes you sit with the fact that someone can be genuinely right about the world being broken and still be someone you cannot forgive. That tension between Rin's need for revenge and Anotsu's ideological legitimacy is the heart of the manga. It never resolves cleanly, it compounds. New characters arrive, each one carrying their own damaged internal philosophy about violence, identity, and what it means to live in a world that produces people like them. Manji is quietly one of manga's best protagonists. He's not introspective in an articulate way. He doesn't monologue about the nature of death. He just lives it. He's been alive for decades, killed endlessly, watched people he cared about die anyway, and developed a bone-dry gallows humor about all of it. He's funny in the bleakest possible way. The kind of funny that comes from a person who has simply run out of options for feeling anything else. The relationship between Manji and Rin is the emotional core of the series, and it is handled with remarkable restraint. There is no romance, there is guardianship, and within that guardianship there is the complicated grief of two people who've both lost family and can't quite replace what they lost with each other, but try anyway. It is genuinely touching in a manga full of severed limbs and sword fights, which is an achievement. Now for the dark stuff. Let's talk about what this manga actually does to you. The violence in Blade of the Immortal is not gratuitous, in the cheap sense. It earns its darkness. But make no mistake, it is extreme. This is not tasteful violence. This is Samura sitting down and saying, I want you to understand what it costs a human body and a human mind to be a weapon, and I will not let you look away from that cost. Because Manji is immortal, he serves as the manga's primary instrument for exploring what violence actually is. He gets destroyed repeatedly, not in a cool badass way, in a horrible, degrading, this body is a machine that keeps failing and getting repaired way. There's a sequence mid-series that involves Manji in a prolonged state of captivity and dismemberment that is one of the most psychologically uncomfortable extended sequences I have ever read in any manga. Not because it's gratuitous, but because it asks, what does repeated destruction do to someone? What does it mean to survive not out of strength, but simply out of biological compulsion? The manga also has female characters whose experiences involve sexual violence, which Samura handles with varying degrees of success. I want to be honest here. Some of it is handled with real gravity and purpose. Some of it made me wince for the wrong reasons. It doesn't derail the manga, but it's worth flagging for people who need to know going in the manga. What the manga does brilliantly with its darkness is use Rin as a moral compass. She's 17, 18 by the later volumes. She wants revenge. She pursues it. And the manga never lets her off the hook for what that pursuit costs. She sees what violence does. She keeps going. And Samura asks us to watch her make that choice without judging her and without endorsing her. That moral ambivalence, it is uncomfortable in the best possible way. I do have some criticisms though. I love this manga. I want that established before I say the following things. So first, the pacing. Blade of the Immortal has 30 volumes and a somewhat episodic structure, especially in the middle sections. There are stretches, and I mean multiple volume stretches, where the plot momentum stalls while Samura introduces new antagonists or takes a detour into a side character's backstory. Some of those detours are excellent. Some of them are clearly Samura buying some time. After volume 15 or so, you can feel the serialization showing it in the seams. Second, some of the secondary antagonists are significantly less interesting than Anotsu. The Ittō-ryū has a large roster of members, and not all of them receive the same thoughtful characterization. Some exist essentially as elaborately designed obstacles. Interesting to look at, not particularly interesting to think about. And then third, and this is the controversial one, the ending. I will not spoil it, but I will say that after 19 years of serialization and an extraordinary build-up, the ending divided the readers hard. I personally found it satisfying, in a grim, appropriately unresolved way that fits the manga's entire ethos. But I have friends who felt it was abrupt and emotionally unsatisfying. Both reactions are valid, and I think that tension is worth knowing about going in the manga. My final verdict. Blade of the Immortal is one of the great seinen manga. Not in a solid entry in the genre way. This belongs on the shortlist of serious literary manga that use the form to do something genuinely ambitious way. Hiroaki Samura spent 19 years asking what it means to survive, what revenge costs, and whether a broken world can be redeemed by the people it breaks. And he did it with some of the most striking visual art the medium has produced. It is brutal, it is sometimes ugly in uncomfortable ways. The pacing occasionally stumbles, and it will absolutely ruin your day if you read it while already sad about something. I read volume 22 during a mild cold, like I have now, and I think it knocked 2 years out of my life. But it is worth it. Completely worth it. My rating, 9 out of 10. -1 point for the pacing issues in the mid-series and for the occasional moment where I couldn't tell that the panel was a sword or someone's spine. Could be both. In this manga, could generally be both. If you want something that uses samurai violence as a vehicle for genuine philosophical weight, something that treats brutality as a cost rather than a spectacle, read Blade of the Immortal. If you're new to seinen and want something to ease you in gently, go read Yotsuba first. Come back when you're ready for this. I'll see you in the next time. Stay dark out there.